It may be clear and sunny today, but just a few weeks ago, the DPW was battling against winter weather. We were able to follow them for the entire day of January 31st as they dealt with a small-scale snowstorm to give you an inside look at what goes into the process. Welcome to North TV Behind the Scenes Snow Removal. As we flip our calendars over to the month of March, we can start to look forward to warmer weather and put the doldrums of winter behind us. Before we get too removed from those chilly winter days, North TV wanted to give you a look behind the scenes of one of the town's largest winter undertakings, snow removal. The DPW is tasked with keeping the roadways clear and safe, which in turn keeps your ever-busy day-to-day life on the move. This winter, the DPW implemented a pilot program that most of you may not have noticed, but helped keep the roadways free of layers of packed up snow. DPW Director Mark Hollowell explains the new program.
The salt brine program, a lot of towns are using it now. It's a pre-treatment process. We got a small setup. It only costs a few $1,000s, and we're hoping to expand on it. And basically what that system does is we go and pre-apply it to the roads up to a few days before a pending storm, and it puts salt, calcium mix on the road. We use a 23% brine solution and add 10% calcium chloride to that. And that dries to the roadway and creates a barrier that doesn't allow a bond between the roadway and the snow, so you don't get snowpack on the ground. Brine is a really good product. That's just salt and water at 23%. That actually works only down to about, between 18 and 20 degrees. And that's why we add the calcium chloride. Calcium chloride brings it down to almost a -5 degrees. We basically put it on the primaries and secondary roads. Those are the main roads for you to go to and from a place. We don't do the residential roads and the back roads. And there are some roads, Kelly Boulevard and the larger roads, that we have to actually go through twice. That's part of our program. For all the other storms, it actually worked really well when we had the calcium chloride. It burned through really well. It gave our guys a lot more response time, even in storms, to keep the mains clear so they can get out there and start scraping without having any issues with cars slipping on the roads. And it was just that one storm where we ran out of it where we had those issues. So moving forward in that program, we're hoping to get a larger bar. You can get an attachment to the bar that we have to add another 4 feet to that. So it takes up a bigger lane width. And possibly getting a larger tank to drive it around in. Right now we only have a 500-gallon tank. If you had a 1,000 or a 1,500-gallon tank, you could probably get more area out of that. But I think our program to start was pretty good. We handled all the mains and secondaries in town. And it's something we want to expand on. We're going to be meeting with the town of Mansfield, who's been doing this for a couple of years. We've spoken to the town of Lexington, who has a very sophisticated program going on. And their program, Lexington, just so people know, cost over $100,000 for their equipment, just for their brine program. So, there's a long, long way to go. Ours was a pilot program. It was for relatively short money. And the intent of it is to stop that pack from getting down on the road. And like I said, unfortunately for that one storm, we had 6 large trucks break down, which also helped scrape that off there. And when the smaller trucks are filling in for larger trucks breaking down, they just can't get the snow off quick enough, and they end up just packing it down more.
The new salt brine program wasn't without its hiccups in the first season. The DPW ran into issues with keeping their supply of calcium chloride in stock throughout the various snow flurries the town was hit with.
The issue is, because it's a pilot program, we have a small calcium tank and a small brine tank, about a 1,200-gallon calcium tank and a 1,000-gallon brine tank. And for them to do a delivery of liquid calcium, they want a 5,000-gallon delivery, which is what a lot of towns have. We didn't have that. We ran out of calcium chloride before the storm started, so we weren't able to apply calcium chloride to the brine solution that we put down. So the brine was less effective at the lower temperatures. When the snow was coming down, it was about 2 inches an hour. It was a pretty strong storm that we had. It was coming down 2 inches an hour, and the plows weren't able to keep up with it because we try to keep the neighborhoods open as well. And the brine was ineffective in stopping that snowpack from coming down on the ground. We've looked at, the board and I met to discuss that about what we can do about that in the future. And the first thing we're going to do is buy a much larger tank. We do have a program for a new salt shed going to town meeting this year. And as part of that project, we would have a larger brine system set up as part of that, which would have a larger tank and controls so we can mix the brine as we need to.
As Hollowell mentioned, the salt brine is applied in advance of any snowfall, but once the snow starts falling, the DPW puts into action a plan of attack for snow removal that is developed months before the winter weather begins to develop.
Our program really begins at the beginning of the year. We get the contractors on board. We have a route assignment, which we showed you the big list of all the different trucks that go into the routes. And one of the issues we have is we always have trouble getting trucks. So there's a lot larger trucks that we try to get in, and we try to fit them in with some of the smaller trucks, so we don't have all small trucks on routes or all large trucks on routes. So that's the first part of it, is lining everybody up. And then, so we also have a couple of different weather systems programs that we use, apps on our phones, and we actually have someone who calls us and gives an update with pending storms. And we figure out what we think the storm's going to be. I always love an 8-inch storm because I know exactly what I'm going to get. We're all going out, we're all plowing. Storms that are between 1 and 4 inches, you never really know if it's just going to be guys going out sanding, which is typically 2.5 inches or less. We'll just go out and sand. If it's 2 inches or 2.5 inches and it's still going, we'll have to call on the crews. So we do pay attention to that. If we know a storm's coming, we will call around to most of our contractors and just make sure that they're all up and ready to go. Again, we use our brine system a couple of days in advance, and then the day before the storm, we have everybody go through their trucks. Everybody puts their plows on. Every weekend when everyone goes home, the plows all go on to all the trucks, myself included, before we leave for the weekend. So if something comes up that we weren't aware of, because storms have come out of nowhere, on Thursday or Friday morning, it doesn't seem like anything, and then on Sunday, you can get a completely different scenario. So we spend a lot of time getting all that stuff prepped and set up. There's time cards for the people that come in, for the contractors. We have a new time card for each one that comes in, and then we have our call out system. So we'll make sure all the numbers are updated on our call system and call out to all the contractors once it's time for them to come in. It is a daunting process, but we've done it enough times now that it's just what you do.
As with any plan, the DPW is always looking to improve on what they have in place. The immediate focus is the salt storage facility that they have in place on Smith Street on the grounds of the Highway Department.
Well, we're looking to, right now we have a salt shed that looks about 1965 vintage. It holds about 900 ton, which is about enough for 3 storms. Most places, when they're replacing a salt shed, they want to have a salt shed that will last a whole year worth of salt in there. We have had a few years ago where we were down to no salt. We literally had no salt to put on the roads. There was a lot of storms further south from us, and most of the salt comes into New York Harbor, and it all got diverted south instead of north, and there was a big war, and you couldn't get it if you wanted it. So you like to have a full season in your shed. So we're looking to get a 2,500 ton shed that you can actually back right into, which would be easier. It saves us time of touching the material twice. You can actually load from inside the shed, which kind of muffles the sound a little bit. Smith Street is in a residential neighborhood, so we're looking to try to be better neighbors to everyone around there. But basically, for the security of the town to know we have enough for the entire year. And like I said, we'll add on a lean-to off to one side of it so we can put the brine system in as we move forward in developing that.
Some of you may be wondering how much these storms are costing the taxpayer, but according to Hollowell, the calculations for that is dependent on multiple factors.
A really difficult thing to quantify, only because it's not the inches necessarily, it's the length of the storm. I've had 4-inch storms that just keep dragging on for 10, 15 hours, and you really can't send anybody home until you're done. Because once you send everybody home, it's really hard getting them back, especially if they've been out for 12, 15 hours. This last storm, the large storm that we had, we sent everyone home at 4:30, and we had to call them back at 8 o'clock to start rescraping once we realized that the snowpack was on the ground. And it's very difficult to do that. So, we have had storms that are 6, 8 inches. They drop in 4 hours. We clean them up, and they cost less than, 4-inch storms that just linger around for the entire day. Also, we have our laborers work during the day, so sometimes if a storm happens to hit during work hours, you save money that way. It's marginal, but you save a little bit of money that way. So every storm's different. Even ice storms, if they last a long time, they can cost more money than a true snowstorm, because salt is $60 a ton, and we put between 150 and 250 tons out for any salting operation. So a simple salting operation might be $18,000 for one round of salt.
We can't talk about snow and ice without talking about deficit spending, which is the only line item the town is allowed to do that in. I asked Hallwell about the deficit spending and had him explain the details of it.
The town of North Attleboro allocates $200,000 a year to snow and ice spending. In the state of Massachusetts, you can deficit spend, but whatever dollar amount you put forward, you can never go back. So we'll never be able to go down to 100,000. We have to stay at 200,000. So some people say, why don't you full fund? If we were to full fund, our average year is about $500,000. Our average snow total is about 40 inches. And we're at about that now. We have just over 40 inches. We're at about $475,000. So, I mean, we're pretty much on average on what we do for a typical year. Right around January 9th is usually when we start deficit spending. If we have to make sure that the barn is filled with salt, if there isn't a lot out there, we also buy sand. We have some gravel roads that we have to sand. We can't salt certain areas. So there is money that goes in the early part of the year. And usually in December and early January, you get 3 or 4 quick ice storms that we have to go out and salt. So you really cut into that spending pretty quickly. The thing people need to understand, and I know people have said it, that once it starts snowing, we're not out there to save money. I mean, I am notoriously frugal. Anyone will tell you that. But when it's snowing outside, our job is always to get the job done. So we really don't try and say, well, we're going to send everyone home early, or not call anyone in until it's too late. Sometimes it happens just because you're not expecting the storms to hit. We had a storm a few weeks ago. It wasn't a large storm. I think it was Sunday afternoon. It wasn't expected to hit till 2 or 3 o'clock. We ended up calling everyone in at about 11:40, for the storm, just because it started accumulating faster than we anticipated. They thought it was going to be rain for a little while, and when it's not, you have to change gears pretty quickly and get everyone in. And we're never looking to save money, but on the other side, we don't look to waste it.
In our next segment, North TV's Brett Porter was given an opportunity to take a ride with the Public Works as they sanded throughout a snowy afternoon. Brett had an opportunity to learn about the basics of the route and how the process works.
So now we're just sanding right now?
Yep, just putting in sanding operations. Just put the salt out. We just thought that before the storm. Get a good base down. Hopefully we can keep it down melted. And then if need be, we set up the top long.
So now, what's the difference between like salting and sanding? What are we looking to do, the difference there?
Well, the salt it actually melts the snow a lot faster than sand. When it comes down to the town, it ends up being somewhat cheaper because you only have to salt, you put it down, it breaks down, melts, it goes away. Sand, you have to deal with it in the spring. So, but in the past we used to do 50-50, but now it's just straight salt, and you get a better melt when you're using straight salt. And a lot of the trucks are also equipped with calcium, which melts a lot of the snow when it comes down to certain temperatures, and it also helps out with the melting of the snow. So it's a good mixture that we have, and it seems to work pretty good. The average route usually takes about 3.5 to 4 hours, and every storm's different. Sometimes we can come in with just a light dusting and come in and hit our routes pretty quick and get done in 2.5 hours. A storm like this, which is kind of long and drags out for a 12-hour period, we could be out here anywhere from 8 to 15 hours. So every storm is different. So we hope to kind of get in, especially late night, get in and get out as fast as possible. But sometimes it doesn't happen that way. We started off, like I said, we started off doing this with sand and salt. And now we just switched it all over to salt. Various different trucks. I got lucky, I got a newer truck now, but I started off with the older trucks, and those were fun to drive. Now these newer trucks that we get, Cowan's trying to get into the automatics and trying to make things a little more comfortable for us to make our job a little bit easier. We just want to appreciate it. Mark Howell, Director of Public Works, really works hard to try to get us the best trucks that we can get. Do what we can do.
Yeah, this truck seems pretty nice. Like, this is a pretty good ride going.
It's a 2-year truck's 2 years old. It's Mac. He said it's really comfortable. Like I said, I really got lucky when it came to this truck.
And so now this is your truck. Like, you're the only one who rides this one.
This is when it comes to snow and ice. This is my truck. It's the truck I sand with. The truck I plow with. And then in winter and then the summer, it switched over to utilize another thing, which goes to forestry and use it as a chip truck. It goes around the chipper and chip it and stuff like that. Just in the winter time, this is my truck that I use. Sand and plow.
Now, how come this road is so clean? Like, what was
I've already hit this earlier. This is one of the roads that I've hit earlier, so it melted pretty quick. And then the roads that I haven't, like the ones we just went on, I haven't hit those. That's towards the end of my route, so they usually get salt a little bit more.
So now, how long does it take a road to go from, say, what we were at and what this is now? Like, how long does that usually take?
For a road to get snow covered?
No, for a road to get cleared. Like, once you salt it, how long does it take for it to clear?
It all depends on the temperature, the road temperature. It all depends on how much we put down. If it's been pre-treated before we get out there, so there's a whole bunch of different things that go on. Sometimes we go out, put the salt down. The temperature's so cold, the road's so cold. We'll put the salt down and it won't melt, and that's when the calcium comes into play. When it gets down to a certain temperature, and the road's too cold, and just the salt alone won't melt it, then we add calcium, which the trucks have calcium sprays on them, and it sprays the salt that's coming down, and that also helps to melt the snow. And a lot of people will call and say, my road hasn't been salted yet, and we say, yeah, I've already been there twice, and well, it's not melting. Well, there's not much we can do. We just got to let the temperature is against us, and hopefully down the line. And normally, if it's at nighttime, you notice a lot is that we'll go out and we'll salt, and we'll go home and the roads will look like this. But as soon as the sun comes up in the morning, between the salt and the sun, the temperature rises a little bit, and then it's down to water. But then a lot of people look at us and they get mad and they say, oh, the roads are still snow covered. Well, usually the next day is when it'll melt pretty quick.
Yeah.
What else we try to do is hit the routes once, at least, even if it's going to be a plowing event, at least to try to get the salt down. And that also helps to scrape the snow off the roads, where it doesn't allow the snow to really grip to the asphalt, and you'll be able to scrape it off really easy. People don't realize, when we're out in a snowstorm, a lot of people complain, oh, I'm not driving to Florida, that's too long. That's 24 hours, 18 hours to drive to Florida or to drive someplace or whatever. You have to understand, we pretty much do that in one snowstorm.
Right.
And people say, oh, I got to Florida in 18 hours. Well, I did 18 hours in one snowstorm. So technically, if you look at it, I've driven to Florida during a snowstorm. And we just look at our mileage and say, I just put 3,000 miles on one snowstorm. Just because you're not changing the scenery and the weather's not getting warmer, you've pretty much been sitting in the seat, turning the steering wheel, staring out this windshield, as many hours as it takes you to drive to Florida.
Safety was another topic covered while out on the road. Though the plows and sanders may look like they're specially made to handle harsh conditions, they really aren't much different than a commercial vehicle when it comes to driving in snow and ice. With that, accidents are a real concern for the plow drivers.
DPW to police dispatch. C2 to 16, Brian.
Something nice
17.
to do that. Oh, that's us. Go ahead.
Brian, can you do me a favor? Call the PD. Just involved in an accident at Old Post in Allen Ave.
All right, any injuries?
I don't know yet. I haven't gotten out of the truck yet. Called him. I don't know if there's PI or not. We're right at the intersection, at the dead end section of Allen Ave, Old Post.
Evo.
Police Department.
How you doing, Brian from the Highway Department? We have one of our vehicles has been involved in an accident on Allen Avenue and Old Post Road at the intersection. Unknown any injuries. The dead end, it would be the dead end part of Allen Avenue, not the other part, the Old Post and Allen Avenue. And unknown any injuries at this point. Yeah, well, it's a pickup. It's one of the DPW pickups. Yep. Yes. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
No, it's all right. So obviously that's something that you guys don't exactly plan on.
No,
But,
I mean, like I said, it happens, and usually we try to help out and stuff.
Yeah.
17 at P2. As long as everybody's okay, but again, people don't realize that, they think we
Down to the truck, Brian, direction traffic.
they drive these trucks and, they think that we're in miracle vehicles that can fly through the snow, but we get into accidents just as much as everybody else. And we're the same vehicle everybody else drives day to day. It just so happens that's one of our pickup trucks, but when it comes to large trucks, like us, I mean, we have it, really hard because we can't stop. People think that it's a sander and it's a plow truck, it has special features. We don't. It's the same features as any other large truck and any other large SUV or pickup. So we have, slip and slide, and we can't stop, and we get stuck just as well as everybody else.
Yeah. So it's a pretty dangerous job on top of what you guys are doing. I mean,
Exactly. Right.
you're literally forced to go out in bad conditions and do exactly what they tell everyone else not to do, is drive around.
Right, exactly. That's what we're right. That's what we tell people. People don't understand that. We're out here trying to make the road safe and trying to do things to, so they can get home or go to work or go to school and stuff. And as we always tell people, it's better if you stay off the roads because it makes our job a lot safer. And by doing that, by being on the road, we have to worry about you. We have to worry about the trucks. We have to worry about everything.
Right.
And also try to get our routes done in time so people can get to work or get home from work or get home from school. And when they say stay off the roads and and stuff like that, it really means a lot when we can go out there and not have to worry about traffic and hitting things and stuff. It's the police departments could be all really busy too. Stuff. Again, this is where it falls. I know it falls on the time of people getting out of work and stuff, but it just makes things really dangerous. And then we have a hill like this, coming down, and hopefully praying at the end that nobody's there to meet you at the end, and you slide right through. Or you have snow, which is not too bad. If we have ice, that's a whole different ball game, and that's a whole lot of praying and white knuckling, because when you got ice, especially ice underneath the snow, like I said, there's a lot of praying. A whole different world.
Yeah. I mean, you've been doing this for 17 years, so I'm assuming you're one of, if not the best driver that DPW has.
Yeah.
And even you are saying, and we're seeing a truck up front is slipping and sliding.
Right.
So even you're saying, this is a situation where it's even dangerous for you to be on the road.
Right, exactly. We're coming down now. I am the vehicle that's putting the sand down, so there's nothing in front of me that I can pray for to say, I hope they sanded this road. I am the vehicle that's putting that sand down, and my sander is behind us. It's not under us. It doesn't reach any of the tires. So whatever road I go down, I'm praying that it's I'm going to have gription and I'm not going to slide all over the place. So a lot of people don't understand that, is that I am actually bigger and carry more weight, and it takes a lot more for me to slow down. And like people say, a train, it can't stop on a dime. Neither can these trucks. And like I said, and I have in my mind is I'm the one that's trying to make it safe for them. But we ask for them to try to make it safe for us, is that not to be on the road as much as possible. And if you have plans to go out, try to cancel them or change them unless it's an emergency, and stuff like that. But if it's not an emergency, then we ask people to try to stay off the road as much as possible. We just came down the hill, slid down most of the hill. And then at the end, you're kind of like, I hope we keep going.
Glad no one's here.
there's a whole different view of when you're looking at it now, like this, nice road, and we're seeing it now. When it's daylight, you can see where you're going, but then you throw darkness to this, and it's a whole different world.
If you had advice for people on the road who are driving with you, what's your best advice you can give someone who's, like, if I see a DPW plow truck on the road, what should I do? Should I try to get by you, or like get out of your way, or what's the best advice there?
To give us our space. Don't try passing us. Don't try getting in front of us. Just give us our space. If you see us coming, wait for us to go by. It's the smartest thing to do, because we are plowing your way home. We are salting your way home. So getting in front of us, you're getting into the slipperiest conditions. Now, if you're in front of me and you spin out, now I have to try to avoid you. So now you're putting me into danger. So, like we ask people, just give us our space. Stay away from us. If you're behind us, don't get right on our bumper. If you're in front of us and you're able to pull over and get out of our way. If you're sitting at a stop sign, you see us coming, don't shoot out in front of us, because we can't stop. So we ask you just to give us our space. Stay, a lot of times in the back of our signs will say 100 feet, 50 feet back. Stay that distance back. We said just give us our space, because it just makes our life a lot harder when we have to worry about people around us. And there's nothing more that I want to do is smash into a vehicle, especially into a caravan of full of a family. It's the last thing I want to do. And God forbid if somebody got hurt. This truck is a battering ram. I mean,
right.
It can do some serious damage. So that's why I asked, just stay out of our way. If you see us coming, please just move to the side, wait for us to go by, and let us be your chariot. Let us plow your way home. Well, until at least the town line when we split off.
We finish out our look behind the scenes of snow removal by getting more details on the sanding process.
How do you know when you've run out?
When on my route, because I've been doing it for so long, you're pretty much I can get this far, and I'll run out. Or in the back of our sanders, you can hear it. Like, I don't know if you can hear the noise coming from the sander. It's making like a little bit of shh sound.
Yeah. A
lot of times when it's getting lighter, the back is getting lighter, it'll be louder because it's going faster. There's not so much pressure on it. And you can tell, like I'm pulling into the cul-de-sac. If I'm sliding a lot, I'll know it's like, well, I'm getting pretty low. Or you just look in the lights, and you can see it now that it's darker out. You can see I have a light back there facing on the ground, and you can see the salt stops coming out of that. Because I'm constantly looking in the mirror back, constantly seeing if I make sure the salt is coming out. Stuff. So like you said, you can see the light. My truck's lucky; I have a light on each side, so I can look in either mirror and I can see the salt coming out. I know, but my route, I pretty much know how far I can go with the truck, and where I pretty much get low, and time to go back and get on board. Hey, take a left down there, your first left. Hit that development over there, the long view and everything. Go up in the back, and then I'll hit everything after that. So now we're going into Cumberland, and you can always tell the different towns and states. Everybody uses different materials and stuff. Cumberland uses sand. They do the mixture, and as you can see the difference between the roads. So when you ask the difference between why are you using salt or just sand and salt, you see the difference right here. We get it down to running water a lot faster. You're not using the mixture. Because a lot of people don't realize it, but they road sand, the sand that you put on a road, is considered hazardous waste. You just can't pick it up and throw it in somebody's backyard and say, okay, we're all done. That's because it's got a road, it's got oils in it, it's got the line and stuff in the roads.
Oh wow, yeah, I didn't know that.
So now that you put it down, and then you got to sweep it up in the spring, and then you have to pile it somewhere. And then landfills will take it. Certain landfills will take it to use it, but they only can take so much a year. So you end up with tons of sand that you got to find something to do with.
So the next time snow falls in North Attleboro, you'll know some of the steps the DPW takes to keep the roads clear and keep residents safe and on the move throughout the winter months. A special thanks to Mark Hollowell and the DPW for allowing me access to take a look behind the scenes, and another big thank you to Brett Poirier for capturing all the footage on the road. For North TV, I'm Jared Ware, and that was North TV Behind the Scenes Snow Removal. Thanks for watching.